life and my life is like a lamp to a world that is searching for the path. We have become the example of Christ, and we are now the light of the world. Can the world see the radiance of Christ in you?
Evangelism does not happen by accident. Discipleship does not happen by accident. If we're going to fulfill our God-given mission as a church, we need to be intentional and reach out and share and introduce people to Jesus Christ.
Africa is an amazing continent with 50% of its population under the age of 18. If we impact the children, we would have impacted the future of the church and the future of our world.
Each one of us has something to bring to the table. Are you willing to release your resources? Surrendering your material goods or your gifts and talents or your time or your heart? What are you going to do?
If we're going to plant the 300 churches, if we're going to reach out to 1 million people through evangelism, if we're going to disciple 100,000 in this nation, and if we are going to have an impact with the poor, with the needy, with children, with all the others who are part of our communities around us, it's not going to happen unless you have committed yourself to the purposes of God and you have been faithful to live by those purposes. Teach you 8 biblical principles for financial freedom. And I want to challenge you to apply them to your life and to your situation. And I want to give you a bet that within 5 years, you will be free from that sense of bondage that you struggle with today if you keep the principles. At the end of this series, when we're done with the 8 principles, we're going to give you an opportunity to make a commitment. And to say before others here, before the Lord, Lord, I am committed to doing this. This is my new Ebenezer point. I am moving forward. I'm getting out of this prison. I'm breaking out into financial freedom. And I want to make a commitment before the Lord that this thing I will do. You shouldn't be here where you are today in 5 years' time. You can walk out of that prison, but it will take commitment. And guys, I'll be honest with you, I want you to know the financial blessings of God because we depend on you to give generously towards the work of the church and the kingdom. And if you are blessed and you are able to give generously, then so much more is accomplished. So I want you to know the freedom that is possible for us in Christ, even when it comes to finances. I want you to create wealth. I want you to be able to give to the work of the Lord. I want you to find out the joy that comes out of generosity so that we may accomplish what God has called us to do together. So I want to teach you these 8 principles. And my prayer for you is that you would say, done. I will do this thing so that I may break free and know the freedom of the Lord. Well, last week, we were looking at the first of those 8 principles. And we said the first principle towards financial freedom is recognizing that God is the giver and the maker of wealth. He gives us the ability to create wealth, as we read in the scriptures. And we talked about the 8, ways that you can make money. The first three are the shortcut ways: corruption and robber bank and those sorts of things. They will lead you to death. The next three are the gambling ways, DESI and MMM and, pyramid schemes, and they will lead you to despair. And then the last two are the ways that God blesses. And this is what, more than anything else, I pray that you will understand and you will commit to. So today we move on to principle number 2. If you can turn in your Bible to Proverbs chapter 29 and verse 18. I'm reading from the New International Version, and it says, "Where there is no vision, the people perish." You can close your Bibles now and go home. That's a lesson. It's obvious. You know what it means. Where there is no vision, the people perish. And I guess what the Bible is saying is this: without a vision, when you don't know where you're going, you'll end up nowhere. Your dreams will die. You're aimless. You're as good as lost. You're driving around in circles, losing time and wasting fuel. You're going nowhere. And I believe that this applies to life in general. If you don't have a vision of where you're going in your marriage, you will end up nowhere. Many of us got married because we were in love. But love is not a vision. You never sat down as a couple and crafted a clear vision of what your marriage stands for and where you're going. And so now, 5 years later, 10 years later, you're wandering around aimlessly, trying to hold your marriage together. You need to sit down and study the Word of God and create or see what the vision God had for marriage was. And it wasn't candlelight dinners and chocolates and roses and staring into each other's eyes. You get tired of looking into each other's eyes. What is the biblical purpose and vision of marriage? If you don't know what that is, you're going to wander around in your marriage, and without a vision, your marriage will perish. It was about 8 years into our marriage, my wife and I, in the midst of all our domains and all the marital issues that we had. We were on holiday in Mombasa. We just had a big blowout the night before. We sat down to try and resolve it. And my wife said something that for me just topped the world, rocked my world, and it completely turned us around. And what she said is, "Oscar, we need to recognize that this marriage is bigger than you and I. We are God's children. We have a mission as a married couple, and we need to get our act together and fulfill God's purpose for our marriage." It completely stopped me. I had never thought of marriage that way. What is God's vision for your marriage? Without a vision, a people perish. And I believe that it's true when it comes to finances too. If you have no vision for your finances, then you're not going to get anywhere. You don't stumble into wealth. You create wealth by taking disciplined measures and steps, consistent hard work to get to wealth. And a clear vision motivates you and drives you forward towards a determined goal. Here's how the New American Standard Version puts the same verse, Proverbs 29 and verse 18. "Where there is no vision, the people are unrestrained." That's you it's talking about. If you don't have a vision for your money, the money in your pocket, you will end up spending it by the end of the day on, unrestrained expenditures like chocolate and perfume and cappuccino cups of coffee that cost 500 bob and lunch, and you will buy useless things that do not put you on the path to wealth. But when you have an electric bill to pay, and you have fees to deposit, and rent to meet and a house to buy and a medical bill to cover, you don't waste your money because you have a vision of what your money could do. But without a vision, you're unrestrained. You spend left, right, and center and have nothing to show for it at the end of the day. This is why your mother used to tell you, always have a project you're doing. Buy a plot, build a house, invest in shares, do something. Always have a plot for your money or a project for your money. And it was good advice. But many people don't have a vision. So they'll never be able to create wealth, even though God has put the means in their hands. They will never see wealth. It will pass them by. Let me give you 9 types of people that will never create wealth. Okay? See if you are going to tick any of these boxes. 9 types of people who will never be able to create wealth. The first are those who don't believe that they can make it in life. Those who say things like, it's too hard nowadays to create wealth. My father was poor, so I'll always be poor. There's no hope. There's a curse on our family, and no one in our family has ever made wealth. The economy is broken, it's collapsing, so don't even waste your time trying to create wealth. Those who do not believe that they can create wealth, and they give excuse after excuse after excuse as to why they cannot. They are living a self-fulfilling prophecy. You know why? Because in Matthew chapter 9 and verse 29, the Bible says, according to your faith will it be done to you. If you don't have any faith, nothing will happen. Even though God has given you wonderful and beautiful promises to provide for you, to care for you, to watch over you because you are His child, nothing will happen in their lives. They're living a self-fulfilling prophecy because according to your faith will it be done to you. If you don't believe you can create wealth, you will never create wealth. You see, God is not in the business of multiplying zero. Mathematically, it is impossible to multiply 0. 1 times 0 equals 0. 1,000,000 times 0 equals 0. 1,000,000,000 times 0 equals 0. And God does not multiply 0. So if you have 0 faith, He cannot multiply that. You will remain with your 0. But if you have faith even as small as a mustard seed, 0.0001 times 1,000,000,000 is equals to something. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, this God can multiply. But according to your faith will it be done to you. If you're thinking about wealth is messed up in your head, then the outcomes will be messed up. I talk about this as the software we have in our minds. If the drivers on a computer are messed up, the computer doesn't work. If the software the computer is running on is messed up, then you cannot get it to do anything. If the computer has a virus in its hard drive, then it will not be able to get the job done. And some of us have a virus, our drivers are messed up, and the software is wrong. There's a litany in our brains that says, not me, I can never, my father never did, I didn't get the right education, I didn't get the right sense of wisdom, I don't know how to do this thing. You have a virus and you will never see wealth. According to your faith will it be done to you. So what's going on in your brain? You see, God has said to us in Deuteronomy chapter 28, and this is just one of the many blessings that God promises us. He says in verse 3, you will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. You, the fruit of your womb will be blessed, the crops of your land and the young of your livestock, the calves of your herds and the lamb of your flock, your baskets and your kneading trough will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come in and when you go out. The Lord will grant that your enemies who rise up against you will be defeated before you. They will come at you from one direction, but they will run away, flee from you in 7 different directions. The Lord will send a blessing on your barns and everything you put your hand to. The Lord your God will bless you in the land he is giving you, and he will establish you as his holy people, and he has promised this by oath. If you keep his commandments, God has promised to bless you. But if you don't have faith that it will happen, it will never happen. So these are the first people who never will see the wealth that God can give them. The second is those who don't take responsibility for their spending and their finances. You know, there are those who blame everyone else. You know, my mother was mean. She used to measure the milk she gave me, and so now I will never be blessed. You know, it's her fault. It's my mother's fault. It's my father's fault. It's a teacher in school. It is that they didn't teach me maths well. It's the education I got. It wasn't posh enough. It's the weather. It's my husband. And they blame and they blame and they blame everyone else. But they don't take responsibility for their own finances. Well, good people, no one else can do it for you. I have a simple rule of thumb I want to give you, okay? This rule of thumb will create wealth for you. Listen up, listen carefully. Do not replace your electrical or electronic items until they die. When we had been married 2 years, my mother discovered that we didn't have a TV set. And she was determined that her son would have a TV set. And so she'd keep coming and visiting us and asking us, why don't you have a TV? And we'd say, we don't want one. Why don't you have a TV? Well, we don't even want one in the room because I don't want Denzel Washington coming to give his swear words in my living room. I don't want that. I don't want a TV. Well, my mother was so concerned that about 5 years after we were married, she bought us one for Christmas. We had to take it. And so I got hooked onto a TV over time. That 14-inch Sony TV, I kid you not, but it lasted for about 16 years. The thing wouldn't die. And by then the flat screens had come. And I had visions of a flat screen, but this thing would not die. The buttons fell off. You know, the thing, when it caught with the aerial at the back, it was fuzzy. The thing wouldn't die. So when they said that they are taking out the analog TVs and digital is coming in, I said, hallelujah. If you don't take responsibility, you will fall to other people's schemes. They will sell you useless things like the Samsung Galaxy, credit cards, the latest style, and many other things that you don't need, and it will put you squarely on the road towards poverty. Here's a third one. People will never create wealth. Those waiting for a benevolent redeemer. Let me explain what I mean. There are those who are waiting for their father to die so that they can get his money. You will never create wealth. Ladies, single ladies here, there are some of you who are waiting for that husband who has not yet appeared because you think you'll be a benevolent redeemer towards wealth. So you're using your money badly now because you want to get serious when he appears. What if he never does? And you're 40 years old and realize this guy, he got waylaid or he got lost on the way to me. Maybe there are those who are waiting and hoping for someone to notice their need and their poverty, and so they're doing nothing about it but waiting for the benevolent Redeemer to come. They will never create wealth. Here's a fourth one. those trying to keep up with their neighbors. Ecclesiastes chapter 4 and verse 4 says, I have also learned why people work so hard to succeed. It is because they envy the things their neighbors have. But it is useless. It is like chasing after the wind. We put a lot of subtle, undue pressure on each other to conform to some social norm. And many times, we're doing this because of something called image. But that image is just one way to keep you poor. I'll tell you a secret. Never go and buy a book on how to get rich. That puts you squarely on the road to poverty, but it puts the writer of the book on the way to wealth. And so we try and keep up with the neighbors. Let me give you an example of some of the stupid things that we do to try and keep up with our neighbors, okay? We buy perfume worth 4,000 shillings. Imagine. Perfume that no one even notices, but it keeps you poor. I kid you not, guys. If you must wear perfume that you want to be noticed, then go and buy Bint El Sudan. 100 shillings. And we will know you're coming from a mile off. We buy branded clothes that make the designer rich while we remain poor. Whoever notices that you're wearing a shirt by Ralph Lauren or by Diesel, and guys, who even cares? I buy my shoes off Amazon.com, okay? And I found a shoe that fits me, and I went to Amazon and I bought 10 pairs of that shoe. And this is wisdom. Let me tell you why. When I go to get a pair of shoes in the morning, I can pick this one and this one. They all go together. They're all the same. I don't have to look for my shoe. Yeah. And I do the same with my socks. They're all one type and they're all black, and so any two will do. I have never had somebody come and tell me, hey, that shoe, can I see? You know, who is it by? Guys, who cares whether your shoe is from China or from Italy or from France or from India? Who are you trying to impress? We eat at posh pavement restaurants. And you know the ones I'm talking about, okay? So that people can see us as they walk by. Okay? The food costs 2,000 shillings a plate and it tastes like cardboard. Or we buy posh 4-wheel brand cars, European cars, to drive on tarmac roads in Nairobi. I had somebody tell me yesterday in a conversation, because it rained, yesterday. I don't know whether it was all over Nairobi, but it rained some. And they told me, I've been thinking of getting a 4-wheel because when it rains like this, and I thought, in Nairobi, this Kalite rain is what you're justifying to get a 4-wheel drive European car? Who are you trying to impress? But we do this. And that's what's keeping us squarely on the road towards poverty. There was an article in the 2014 October Nation newspaper talking about what the upcoming new wealthy people are doing with their money. And I want to read, quote an excerpt from there. It says this. This is the journalist who wrote it talking. When we walked into the Little Red Branch on Kimathi Street, it was abuzz with activity. 3 male customers were engaged in an animated conversation with the shop's manager, so we decided to look around and see what was on offer. A pair of socks for 3,000 shillings. You're supposed to say, huh? A leather jacket for 600,000 shillings. Yes, thank you. A pair of jeans for 112,000 shillings. A Brioni shirt for 350,000 shillings. And a Salvatore Ferragamo shoe for 275,000 shillings. And here's the clincher. A Brioni suit for 700,000 shillings. Who are you trying to impress? Again, I've never had anybody stop me to be impressed by my suit. So you know what Kenyans are doing nowadays? When they buy the suit, they leave the kalebo, and you walk like this. So that everybody can see. Guys, that's shawness. Don't do that. Keeping up with social convention puts you squarely on the road to poverty. And the only person who goes to the bank laughing is the guy who sold you that product or the guy who designed it. You remain poor. So Proverbs 21 and verse 20 in the Good News Bible puts it this way. Stupid people spend their money as fast as they get it. Who's ticking that box? Let's move on to the fifth one. The ones who hang out with the naysayers, the wrong crowd. I read recently somewhere, that you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And if they are naysayers, lazeabouts, going nowhere, always complaining about everything, you will become exactly like them and you will end up nowhere. But if they're people with a dream, a passion, and they're pursuing it, and they're focused, and these are your 5 best friends, you will become like them. You will begin to think like them. You begin to talk like them. And so what crowd do you hang around with? Because you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Number 6, those who love window shopping and adverts. Some of you say, on my day off, I go window shopping at the mall. Who are you conning? Let me tell you guys, at the recent Super Bowl, in the US, a 30-second advert, I believe, was going for $5 million US. That's a lot of money. $500 million. Is it $500 million Kenya shillings, Now, who would pay $500 million for 30 seconds? And yet there are people who pay. It's hard to even get a slot. You know why? Because the people who pay know that advertising works. They will pay that $5 million, but within a short time, they will get their money back because of the people who want their product, having seen the advert. And so beware of adverts. On the billboards, beware of going window shopping, because adverts and advertising and window shopping has one goal. It is to make you dissatisfied and discontent with whatever you have so that you can buy this product. They're not trying to help you. I have never seen an advert that said, this product will do A, B, C, D for you. It's a good product, and so go home, think about this, and see whether you can afford it, and then come back. They're not trying to help you. And when you go window shopping, you're conning yourself. I kid you not, guys. For almost 20 years from the time the hormones began to go through me at around the age of 13, 14, 15 years, I washed with Lux. Because in all the adverts, all those guys who wash with Lux, they're walking along and then they bump into a beautiful girl. 20 years, I bought Lux. I never bumped into any beautiful girl. So now I use a cheap soap. But that's the lie of adverts. They want your money, they do not deliver. Window shopping creates a desire to purchase. Instead, I believe it's Warren Buffett I was reading about recently, an article in one of the papers on the web, and they talked about him being one of the richest people in the world, but he has only 5 suits made by a Chinese tailor. 5. And he doesn't keep any more in his wardrobe. After all, how many can you wear? Make a commitment to never, purchase stuff because of the advertising you see. Think through what you buy. 7, those who believe in retail therapy. Now, this is what I mean by retail therapy for those who may not know. Have you ever noticed how when you're feeling down and you go shopping, you feel so good afterwards? Yes? Yeah, I can see converts here. Shindwe. There's a science behind it, and it's called a dopamine fix. That when you shop, there is a chemical, a hormone released in your brain that is called the happy hormone. It makes you feel good, okay? And what happens when you shop is that as you are looking through the clothes, as you pick one up, as you go and try it on, and then as you pay for it, the dopamine begins to flow, and you feel better and better and better. But it doesn't last forever. By the time you get home, you're back to normal, and now you're regretting that you used your money like this. And you wish you could take it back. But in this Kenya, you can't. I have a friend from the state who tells me, because there, you're given 2 weeks to return anything you buy. You can unpack it, you can wear it, you can try it, and you can take it back. Okay? And so this friend tells me, when I'm feeling down, I go and shop and shop and shop and shop and shop. And then tomorrow I take it all back. But the problem is, you do that and you become addicted to that feel of being lifted up emotionally. If that's the way you do self-therapy on your down days, it will become an addiction and you will become a compulsive shopper. And it will put you squarely on the road towards poverty. Number 8, those who allow lifestyle creep to happen to them. What do I mean by lifestyle creep? It is this. When you started your job just after university, you used to live in Kawangware. The rent was, 2,000 shillings a month for the little bedsitter you were in, okay? But over the next 5 to 10 years, you got promoted, and you moved from Kawangware, you went to Jamhuri, you went to Kilimani on the other side of the road, and now you're heading towards Runda. When you were in Kawangware, the budget was tight, you felt you just couldn't make it, you were struggling to meet your bills. You got promoted, and you got a better salary. So what did you do? You changed the address, your lifestyle crept up. And now in Jamhuri, the budget is tight, you can hardly meet the rent, and you feel you're not making it. Then you get promoted again, and you move to Kilimani. And you're still feeling tight, and the budget is, difficult, you can't meet the school fees. Then you get promoted, you're the MD now, and you move to Runda. And all along the way, your lifestyle has crept up and up and up and up, and you remain poor and poor and poor and poor because of lifestyle creep. Some of you here are older and so will understand what I'm talking about in this sense. When you started your job, your dream car was the Datsun 120Y. You remember that car? Now you look at Japanese and cars from the East, and you sniff at them. You can only drive a European car. That's lifestyle creep. You know, something bad has happened in this country when it comes to our diet. Our fathers and those who went before us used to eat for sustenance. They ate so that they could have food in their stomach, so that they can go to the shamba and they can dig and they can do what is necessary. That was our old African diet. You ate for sustenance. And this is why so much of our African cuisine is flat and bland, and it isn't very attractive. But then the European cuisine came in. And the European cuisine is not for sustenance. The European cuisine is for taste. And so everything has sugar and spices and a lot of chemicals added so that it tastes divine. You buy a McDonald's hamburger, you can put that thing on your mantle or, on your dresser, and 1 year later, it looks exactly the same. Even the ants and the flies won't eat it. It never decays or deteriorates because of the amount of chemicals in it. But my goodness, doesn't it taste good? It's for sustenance. And what we're doing today is, with our lifestyle creep, we have allowed ourselves now to put all these fancy foods on the table. We never used to have them. How many of you, when you were growing up, ever ate a sausage? It happened like once every 5 years. But now it's a breakfast meat every day. And what you're doing is you're eating and consuming these poisons, the polonies and the salamis. These names always sound like horses. Polony, salami, and the bacons and the sausages, and they're bad for you. The doctors will tell you, don't touch those, sandwich, cold meats. They're bad for you. They're full of phosphates. You don't want to eat them. But because you can afford it now, your lifestyle has crept up to afford them and to buy them. And they're killing you and keeping you poor. That's what lifestyle creep is about. I've told you before, you come to my home as we eat for sustenance. We eat githeri in the morning for breakfast, githeri for lunch, githeri for dinner, and on Sunday evenings, we throw in a chicken leg. Number 9, those who are discontent. There was a famous survey done of some of, the wealthy millionaires, and they were asked, do you feel rich? And they said no. How much more would you need to be able to feel rich, wealthy? And they all said to a man, just a little more. And we're like that. Many of us here are well compensated. We're earning a good income. Remember what we said last week. If you earn more than 40,000 shillings in Kenya as a household, that is $400. If you earn more than $400 per month per household in Kenya, you're part of the middle class. The watchman who stands at your gate cannot even imagine what life at your level of pay begins to look like. It would be heaven for him. He can't even imagine it. You're part of the middle class. And many of us are even beyond 400. We're at 400,000. But we're not content. 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 6 to 8 says, true godliness with contentment is itself great wealth. After all, we brought nothing with us when we came into the world, and we can take nothing with us when we leave it. So if you have enough food and clothing, let us be content. So I have a question for you. What is enough for you? If God was to bless you and tell you, tell me what you want, what is enough? Is it one good, reliable car? And when God gives you that, can you get on with the job that He's given you and not ask for a second one? What is enough? Is it 10 suits? Is it, 20 dresses? And when you reach 20, can you stop and say, Lord, you have fulfilled my every dream. I have enough. What is enough for you? Because if you don't define it, if you don't identify it, if you don't write it down and commit to it, it will always be a mirage that hovers ahead of you. And you will chase it and chase it and chase it your whole life, and you will build stuff and more stuff and more stuff, and you will have more than you can ever use. But you still will not feel that you have been blessed of God. And so I want to give you a homework. Go home and write down, what is enough for me? There was a time when my father had 7 cars in the drive, and he wanted to buy even more cars. He had never defined what is enough. He couldn't even keep the batteries current. They would go flat because they would sit there for a month or more, and he hasn't driven it. What is enough for you? Hebrews chapter 13, verse 5 and 6. Keep your lives free from the love of money, and be content with what you have, because God has said, I will never leave you, I will never forsake you. So we can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper, I will not be afraid. Define what enough is and leave it be. God is on your side. God will watch over you. And He can take care of you even if that enough wasn't well defined and it wasn't enough. God is on your side, and you can say with confidence, the Lord is my helper. I don't need more. Let me ask you another question. Having defined what enough is, what do you need to do to cultivate contentment in your heart? You see, the advertising world and the shopping world is doing everything it can to make you discontent. So what do you need to do to protect your heart and not become greedy for more and more and more? How do you do this? Let me give you a couple of, leads. And you need to go and decide this for yourself. A bit of homework. What do I do to cultivate contentment in my heart? One is name the lie of the advertising. When you see an advert on TV, you say, uongo huo. When you see the billboards up there, you say, it's a lie. It doesn't work out that way. And if I get onto that truck, it will lead me straight towards poverty. Why is it that every advert has a beautiful girl on it and they're all smiling, except the ones where they use the MD's daughter? They all have a beautiful girl on it and they're all smiling. Life doesn't work that way. They even sell exhaust pipes. I remember when Setlac used to sell their exhaust pipe, and there was a beautiful girl lying on an exhaust pipe. I tell you, I wanted to change my exhaust pipe. Life doesn't work that way. Work at lowering your level of contentment so that even what you have is enough. Limit your consumption, number 3. Define what enough is and stick with it. Let go of stuff, number 4. I've said this before, I'll say it again. If you haven't worn it for 6 months, give it away. Let it be somebody else's blessing. You don't need it. That wedding dress you got married in, you will never, this is a prophetic word, you will never go back to that size. Give it away. Stay close to the poor. See how they live so that you can see the waste in your life. Memorize God's word and what He says about contentment. What are you doing to cultivate a spirit of contentment in your personal life? because everyone else is trying to make you discontent. These 9 categories of people will never know wealth. So let me go on now to the principle that we talked about as I conclude. Proverbs 29 and verse 18. Without a vision, a people perish. If you don't have a clear goal of what you're doing with your money, you will never see wealth. You will perish financially. So how does one get a vision? Just very quickly, because we'll come back to this at a later stage. How do you get a financial vision? I think you begin by answering this question. What is it that I want the Lord to bless me with above all things? And if I project 5 years, 10 years, 20 years down the road, what is it that I hope I can accomplish financially? Write that down clearly, because it begins to tell you where your heart is and what your financial goals could be. Now, because the world has taught us to be greedy and we want it all, you'll probably come up with a list of 60 things that you want to do. It's not going to happen. Maybe 5 or 6 of those things will happen. Prioritize, determine what they are, turn them into SMART goals that are specific, that are, measurable, that are achievable, that are relevant, and that are timed. 5 or 6 goals that will become the goals that you are giving your finances. I want to give you an example. Let me tell you what our top 5 are for my wife and I. 5 goals. These are the 5 goals that we have, set down. There are other things that would have liked. We're not even trying to hit those targets. If they happen, they will be by the grace of God, but they're not what we're going for. The first one is to own our own home. A place that we can call our own and that we won't be kicked out of. And last year, we paid off the mortgage to our home and we own it 100%. I have the title deed. It is in our joint names and we cannot be kicked out. That goal has been ticked. God has answered our prayer. Our second one is to provide a quality education for our children. And what do I mean by quality education? I don't mean, going to the posh schools in this city, whether it's, the Banda or Hillcrest or Brookhouse or some of those really posh places. You know why, guys? I went to Karen C. Primary School and I turned out okay. My kids can do the same. We want them in an 844 school, doing the national curriculum, learning like everyone else, because I believe that that standard of education will help them be the normal average Mwananchi with dreams and not be born with a silver spoon in their mouth. We told our kids, we want you to go to local universities here. We're not sending you overseas. You're not going to another country. You will do your first degree here in the country or the equivalent of a first degree here in the country. And after you are done with that, if you want to go overseas, I will only educate you for the first degree. The rest is yours. And so you can go if you want to go, but now that will be your piece as a second degree. The third goal that we have is to live debt-free. And for me, this means 3 things. Number 1, we don't owe anyone anything. And that's true of us now. We are debt-free in that we don't owe anyone any money. And we're very careful about that. And we've said, if God gives us the means to buy assets beyond this place of our first home, we will not go back to mortgages and trying to pay for assets through debt. To be debt-free. Number 2 is, as a definition of debt-free, to have at least 1 year's emergency fund set aside for any emergencies we may experience. And what that means is, there is your normal monthly budget. That's not your emergency fund. Your emergency fund is when you're sacked and you don't have an income and you don't have a job, you will be able to hone down your expenditure to the minimum. You pay fees, You will eat githeri like me. The sausages will disappear. The bacon will go. The four-wheel drive car will go. And welcome to the world of the Wits. You know what they say with the Wits? The good thing about the Wits is that you don't need a logbook. A receipt is sufficient. When you wash the Wits, you can take it into the bathroom and wash it there. Okay? So your emergency fund is not your normal monthly budget. It is cut down to the minimum so that if you are sacked, you could go for a year without needing, to get a job. We've made a commitment to that. We're not there yet. We're working at it now that we're debt-free. A third one is to stop living from hand to mouth. Living from hand to mouth is I get the salary on the 24th of this month, and it is what I am waiting for to be able to pay for next month's bills. I don't want to be in that space anymore. I want to get to the place where I get the salary into my account, but I'm actually living on the salary that was paid to me 2 months ago, and I'm not living hand to mouth. Unfortunately, for many of us, even those who are well paid, we're living from hand to mouth. And if you lost your job, you have no reserves and could not survive. The fourth one, our fourth goal as a family, is to be generous to God's work. On top of everything else, the tithe and ministry and whatever else, we want to carve out a special place of generosity that is our way of saying thank you to the Lord. Not because we must give a tithe, but because we want to bless the work of God. And so one of my dreams has been to build a house on the front row property in Malindi on the beach for pastors to be able to take a break and go to a place where they can rest without paying. And so I told you last year, a friend of mine and I got together and we bought 1 acre of land in Malindi on the beach. Ebu semeni kimna though. 1 acre on the beach. And our goal is that by 2025, we can put up a flat there that will be available for pastors to go for 3 weeks, for 4 weeks with their family, and all they need to pay is the food they eat and, the basics, but they're not paying hotel rate charges because many pastors cannot afford that. And I know that many times I have wanted to be away. I don't want to go into the hotels, they're too expensive, and it becomes a counseling session because I undoubtedly meet people. I went to Baringo, the middle of nowhere in the Bunduks. And I still had people come and tell me, my pastor, we've been wanting to see you, our marriage. And I'm thinking, oh yeah. I came here to work on my own marriage. Now I'm counseling. This place, I told the guy who found it for me, go into the least populated place where there's no one there, find me an acre, and he did. It's a deserted little place. And I bought an acre to build a pastor's retreat. That is one of our desires with my wife. A second one is that we would like to be generous to the poor. And so we've taken in 4 orphan girls and we're caring for them, educating them, bringing them up. We've also desired to educate 100 children from our personal means. And I don't know how that's going to happen. I think we're on number 10 right now. We've got, on top of our daughters, we've got another 4 that we care for under the Logos scholarship scheme, and would like that to be 100. And so I'm beginning to think, I think I'm running out of time, so maybe I need to put down an endowment fund that will continue after I'm gone until it's 100. But we haven't managed that one yet. But it's our desire to be generous to the work of the Lord. And then a fifth one is to retire well. And so we're working. If we retire at the age of 70, that we would have enough passive income that we can live for the next 10, 15 years on that income. before I go to be with the Lord. And I've told you before, I've told the Lord, Lord, I don't think I have much for 20, 25, 30-year retirement. And so when I reach 85, call me home. I have a home in heaven. Why am I going to live like a poor man here when I have a home in heaven? Call me home. But my wife, her grandmother, who she's named after, died at the age of 97 years or something. So her genes are strong. So I think she'll live on after I've gone. And so one of my goals is, even after I am gone, to provide for at least 10 years more for my wife. If the money issues, then I'll tell the Lord, Lord Bwana, call her also. Those are our 5 goals. So guys, without a vision, a people perish. What is your vision for your finances? God is putting money into your hands, but what are you dreaming of, asking God to help you accomplish before the time comes for you to go into His presence? What is your vision? If you don't have a vision, you will never create wealth. And so go home, sit down, puzzle over this one, sit down as a couple, name what your vision and your goals are, write them down, commit to them. In 2 weeks' time, we're going to talk about what you do with them and how you accomplish them. But you must have a vision. God bless you. Amen.